Welcome to my UK Global Talent Visa inspirational webinar. My name is Michelle Hewer and I'm a UK Global Talent Visa coach and I am a recipient from 2016. So just quickly on the agenda today, it's going to be a little bit different to what I normally do, but we're going to start off with an interview with Surabhi first, and then because Surabhi's got such a busy schedule, so I'm going to start with her interview, and then I'm going to go on to speaking about the UK Global Talent Visa application process and all the guidelines and my tips as well. So sit tight. You're in for a real treat today because she's got such an inspirational story to tell. And I'd like to welcome Surabhi. She's disappeared, but hopefully she's going to come back on because she was here. Yay! Hi! I do always get scared about this. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Michelle?
You're looking so lovely. It's really lovely to see you and the lovely smile on your face since I feel like it was yesterday since we submitted your application, but it has been a few months, but still it's really lovely to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. And look, all these people, and you've got so many people from India, all your fellow Indians who have come to hear your inspirational story. I'm really excited. I don't know, it's a bit of reflection for me as well as for you talking about this because we're so busy submitting and so busy doing your application that I love speaking to my clients afterwards and going, okay, what just happened in the last few months? And we can really celebrate. So,
Yep.
yeah, if you can please tell everyone a little bit about yourself, yeah, it'd be great for you to start to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, happy to. I'm Surabhi. I'm a product leader based out of London. I have worked at various scales of companies from Google, Microsoft to most recently an edtech startup. And I've worked in different spaces, including AI, developer productivity, and B2B success. Outside of work, I've also been mentoring and coaching students as well as professionals. I've also written a few articles on product management and AI. And I also love going back to school and often engaging with students, evaluating their work and coaching and mentoring them. And that's about me. And I'm happy to answer questions as they come.
That's amazing. And it's really nice to hear you say that because when we're working through your application, there's so many things that you've done, but hearing you summarize it in that way just makes me feel really proud that, you've really highlighted everything that you've done in a snapshot. And it's great. And that can be your, I don't know, pitch deck maybe when you talk to people of how amazing you are and what you've done. Okay, so let's get to the questions. Why did you apply for the UK Global Talent Visa? Just a quick question. Why did you apply for it?
So if I was to boil it down to one single thing, right, it is about freedom. There are, of course, many good reasons to apply for the Global Talent Visa. But if you're somebody who loves what they do and somebody like me who loves to build and has a deep sense of connection and passion with the work we do, I think the freedom to fail is very important in order to do your best work. And as an immigrant, you don't have the freedom to fail. You're tied to a job or you're tied to, you're always in some constraint that holds you back. And I think earning that freedom was very important for me to be able to deliver and do my best work. So that was one. So, instead of talking about constraints and immigration things, and, now I think and talk more about ideas and ways in which I can have an impact. And that is the highest value change. Apart from that, I think one very interesting thing that most people don't know when I speak to them, it seems that it's new information to them is how if they come on skilled worker visa to the UK, many people don't know that the time on skilled worker visa actually counts towards settlement. If you get the global talent visa, you can get your UK PR in 3 years instead of 5. So it's also a faster track to settlement. And I think the other thing that was worrying me was just the climate we live in, right? Even if you have a secure job, you don't know how long it is secure. So the climate of redundancies, even before the advent of AI linked job cuts, now we have even more job cuts because of AI and because of a lot of human work being shifted to agents. So just that the climate we inhabit in this world right now, things are changing a lot rapidly. And amongst all this chaos and noise, it's really hard to focus on the work you're doing. So I think I just wanted freedom from the noise and focus to do my best work.
Yeah, you know what, that's so common. Like everyone wants the freedom to work, and you're so restricted in so many ways as immigrants, your job, your company, what you can do, what visa you have. And I completely agree. I was on many visas before I got my global talent visa, and just getting the global talent is like relief because
Yeah.
it leads to settlement, that you know what's coming next, as opposed to keep asking yourself what is next when you're on a restricted visa. So that's really helpful. Um,
Yeah.
so the global talent visa has lots of different challenges. What challenges and hesitations did you have before applying, and then how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, very happy to speak to this. But I think one more reason that I want to highlight before going to this question is I actually spoke to a lot of early stage founders. And in the process, it was also becoming very evident that early stage startups find it difficult to justify the time and effort, expense required to get a certificate of sponsorship, which is what is required for them to get you into the UK on a skilled worker visa. So if you have ambitions to work on like early stage companies and young products, which is what I am now more inclined towards, I think I was also running into this blocker around, every time I had to filter based on can they sponsor me, and that was also one of the reasons to apply for this visa, just for completion.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And as you know, I did have a startup, and you're so restricted in, again, as a founder, what you can do. So, yeah, visa issues with hiring people. So, thank you very much for that. So, yeah. So, what are your challenges? What were your challenges and hesitations?
I think the first one, so I have, just for perspective for everyone on the call, a sense of quick timelines. I moved to the UK in July 2022 on skilled worker visa. So I have completed almost 4 years now. Yeah, and I applied for the global talent visa somewhere around when I had completed 3.5 years. So when I moved to the UK, I moved on skilled worker visa, and even around that time, I had done my research on the different ways, immigration options, and I had learned about the global talent visa, and it looked like a better visa to move on in terms of the freedom it offers compared to skilled worker or ICT and other options. So it was always on the radar for me. I think it was just about finding the right time and moment to apply, and I was always passively studying and reading up on it. I was sort of passively also building my application, talking to other people who have the visa. Um, and I did attempt building my own application maybe 1 year into my time in the UK. I think the challenges I ran into were shifting criterias. So in the last 2 3 years, the government has changed. Even in 2025, they had two changes made to the process, both process and criteria. So the process bit is a bit minor, but the criteria itself has now, they've added some exclusion criteria. Things that previously used to be very strong points are no longer even valid points. And that was quite disheartening because you put all this effort to create this evidence. Like, for example, I built some evidence on mentoring, and that platform was, for example, blacklisted. So all of that effort got wasted in a way. So this kept happening, or at least even if it happens once, you have this fear of something else going wrong or something else changing. So I think evolving criteria, and especially if you take a lot of time to apply, I think you always risk that. And because I was doing it very passively in the background alongside my work, I was constantly worried about changing criteria. I think personally for me, it felt like a very intense application. I haven't I hadn't I had some experience speaking in conferences and having a public presence, but I didn't have a very loaded profile with a lot of public presence, which kind of becomes a more easy way to get to qualify some of the criteria. I did a lot of community contributions and work in the public sphere. So I think some of it was also a lot of anxiety around, do I have a good enough profile, and how much is good enough, and when's the right time to apply, and yeah, so a lot of uncertainty in general, basically. And yeah, those are the two things that come to mind. If something else comes to mind, I'll share it.
Yeah, it's common as well. Like coming from my own experience of applying, I know it was 10 years ago, but it's still when we talk about it, it's like it's yesterday. Like this memory will stay with you for a long time. And I was the same. I kept questioning my evidence to see, is it good enough? Is it enough? What more can I do? And because I've been through the process, I was able to help you, do it, finish it, move on, because you can always keep second guessing yourself. But how
Yeah.
did you overcome all these challenges and hesitations that you had? Even, and I know at the time you were preparing, but then when you came to me, maybe that was one of the ways that you could overcome your challenges. Because we had meetings every week and was like, so we're gonna do this. Have you done this? Making you accountable and meeting the milestones, and then move on to new evidence.
Yeah, I think around the time that I came to you, I was very frustrated, to be very
Yeah,
honest. I
yeah,
think I hadn't applied. I had come very close to applying, maybe twice, but then something changed. And I was never doing it in mission mode. I was always doing it with other things in my life, maybe as a maybe background priority. I always knew I had 3 years. In my head, my timeline was 3 years, right? From 22 to 25. At any point, if I got the visa, then I could retroactively make the 3 years count. And from the, at least the ILR perspective, if that matters. So I kept kind of doing the background work, but never sort of focused hard on it. I think by the time you and I spoke last year, I had had enough. And I think I was looking for a one shot method to it.
yeah,
I knew that if I keep trying and if I talk to the right people and I get like 5 reviews, I had I had a vague confidence that eventually I will crack this. But then the bandwidth required, I just didn't have it at that time. I had a lot of other priorities in life. I was still working a day job, which was very, very hectic at that point. So it was more like, can I defer accountability to an expert and just be directed at this point? I
yeah,
want somebody who knows to kind of guide my process, because in the end, you still have to do the work for your profile. But I think the uncertainty of, I don't know if this is enough or what counts, what doesn't count, and rereading the guidelines again and again and trying to kind of, conjecture
yeah,
whether it's enough or not. I just wanted some freedom from that. So I
yeah.
think one thing was enrolling an expert. I think the other thing was also speaking to people who had gotten the visa, and especially a friend of mine who had first gotten rejected and then gotten the visa. So, and what changed in the process, right? So I think the biggest piece of guidance like that came from this friend of mine was, um, he very politely told me, you need a strategy, because I had written my application on my own. I think that was him telling me politely that this won't work. So he kept telling me that you need a strategy. And I think the third thing that really helped me get some mental peace was indeed putting together a strategy, because you have a very, it's a game, right? You have criteria, you have to play by the rules. So you have mandatory criteria, you have optional criteria, you have to choose firstly which optional you go with. So just setting all of that out, which we did at some point, and looking at the entire application in entirety, also mapping which recommendation letter will talk about which evidence, and just tying the whole thing together as strategy first before going into the details of creating the documents, I think helped. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's really important. That's why my strategy sessions are there to, because this is a project. It's a huge project, and any successful project requires a strategy in place so that, because you're talking about 15 documents over a period of 5 to 7 years of your career, and the criteria is so strict, and they rely on your experts to help you, and you're talking to your experts to make sure that they're supporting you in the right way, because they don't know what your application's about. So you have to talk to them and say, please help me. I need you to confirm the things that I've worked on with you and why you think I'm a leader in this field. And 9 times out
Yeah.
of 10, well, 9.5 times out of 10, the experts always come through and help you and write amazing letters for you, because we explain to them the importance of this whole process. It's not just a generic recommendation letter. It's a letter specifically for the UK Global Talent Visa, and they need to say that in the application. So, yeah, it's a lot of managing. it's a project that you have to manage. And I'm really pleased that you got advice from your friend, which who I know, and I'm really grateful that they gave you that advice because it's true. Strategy is always important, and then you have something to work towards.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
And
I
then
think,
yeah,
Michelle, in my case, one big unlock for me was also finally taking a decision on which optional criteria I would go
yeah,
with. One of the, actually, this should have come up in the previous question as well about challenges. One of my biggest challenges was I had obviously had OC3, which is contribution to your field, technical or commercial. That piece was strong because if you've worked for this long in the industry, you will have case studies, right?
yeah.
The
Mm,
OC2 and 1 was confusing. So OC1 for everyone in this call, one is innovation, and OC2 is contribution outside of work to community, etc., where your talks and articles, all of that count. So I had a strong OC3, which is my work itself, but I had a half. I felt like I had a 75% chance on both OC1 and OC2. I had done a lot of coaching, mentoring, teaching, so on and so forth, and I had also had a patent. I come from a background in design and tech. So a lot of products I had built were 0 to 1 products or like a first launch or the first MVP. So I had a lot of innovation to talk about. And that was very confusing for the longest time. There was a tension between those two criteria. And I think one unlock was just deciding once and for all which one we are going with and with the right rationale. So that was the result of the strategy session we did, where we looked at, hey, okay, if with this criteria, what are the chances of success and failure? And there's a full logic to it. But we eventually chose OC2 in my case, even though I had evidence of innovation. Uh, like as a like a sing, I guess the one line takeaway for not choosing innovation is that it's not publicly defensible. Like, yeah, okay, there's a patent, but if you choose innovation as a criteria, it needs to be either like somebody, some external authority like a publication or a person of good reputation or something in the public domain has to basically bolster your claim that that is innovative. So even though stuff I did was innovative, I thought so, and the people I worked with thought so. And I worked in big organizations like Google and Microsoft, where one can say that that was the first, like a yeah, like it was an invention. Because there was nothing in public domain, we discarded that criteria and we chose OC2, which was more defensible. And that was a big unlock because that stopped me from working in a split function in 3 directions, and now I had 2 directions to focus my energy on.
yeah.
So yeah, that also helped me cope because for the longest time I was working on all three all the time.
Yeah, and that's common actually. When I see, because OC1, 2, and 3 are very common criteria to select. OC4 is about academic contribution, so not a lot of people choose it. I actually did for mine, but it was very different. But OC1, 2, and 3, they're the ones that you must select from, but you can only select two. And even if we say maybe we can do this, we can build the evidence, but we don't have to decide until we actually sit back and have a look at everything and then make that decision. And yeah, if you just keep going back and forth on it, you're never going to finish. So the strategy was, okay, let's just keep building evidence, let's see, and then decide. And I'm so glad we did because we were going back and forth for so long. But you need to be comfortable because this is your application at the end of the day. I'm there to guide you to say, okay, what's the risk? What's the success rate if you put this evidence as opposed to that evidence? So I'm really glad. I could almost see the relief when you went, right, okay, I've decided OC2 and OC3. And it's huge. It's massive. Well done. Okay, so we talked about the criteria quickly, but let's go and talk about your experts because, as I said before, experts really need to support you in this, and they need to be on board and know that obviously that you're applying for the global talent visa and why you're an exceptional leader in tech, not just within your own company, but they need to say that you are a national or international leader in your field. So, what kinds of experts did we pick for you? Were they different to what you thought?
Yeah. Um, I think, should I just first talk about the criteria based on which I pick the experts and then go into the details?
Yeah,
That, yeah.
yeah,
So, um, So I listed all the people who I thought are in a significantly high position, because it has to be someone of authority and who could refer me for my 3 letters of recommendation. So I think we had a very long list to start with. Probably 7 people in total, 7 to 8 people, if I remember correctly. And
Mm.
then we went through each person's profile and shortlisted the right person, right subset of three, or three with one buffer, maybe four. The criteria I used for selecting which letters of recommendation I will take was one, in totality, when I put one expert, one, two, and three, can that vouch for all the 10 evidences? Like maybe
Mm.
letter one talks about evidence 2 and 5, letter two talks about evidence five, 2, 3, whatever. So
Yeah.
basically, in totality, can somebody in the letter of recommendation at least talk about every evidence get covered?
Mm.
So that's one, like it's like math. You have to kind of figure check the boxes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
and having that discussion with your expert, because they need guidance on what to say, because it's your
yeah,
application. They don't see what's in your application, but you talk them through, what you did with them, and they can confirm and vouch for you, because a
yeah,
lot of experts just write generic things. But this global talent visa endorsement process, it's not about, yeah, she's a great worker and I think she's a leading talent, and that's it. It was really
I
detailed and
like her.
say, yeah, I like her and she should get the visa. It's not just that. You have to have that long conversation with them and really ask them to remember the projects that you worked on and why they think that was important at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. So the criteria I mentioned was the most important one, and then the other one, based on which we shortlisted the experts, was also who has a more obviously better looking public presence, kind of weighs in, because somebody in the application, somebody evaluating the application might check the expert's profile, and they should feel that this person has the right authority to be, vouching for someone else in the same field. So those two things mainly. So the person itself having a good profile, and in totality, the 3 people I choose being able to vouch for everything that I am claiming I have done, was the way I chose. So specifically, the people I chose, one person was somebody who had observed my career at Microsoft for 4 years. So this person vouched for most things I had written from my time at Microsoft, which was probably the patent, shipping something to hundreds of millions of users, which I did in just when the pandemic was ending, and yeah, I think mainly community contributions, but basically all Microsoft stuff. The second person was somebody who's known me over probably now 15 years, from the time when I was a student, has been a career mentor of sorts. I do bank on his advice from time to time. So this person would vouch about my both my work, but also my contribution to the design community, going back
Mm.
to school and being a design juror and mentoring students,
Mm.
as well as a conference where I spoke at, which was a pretty big conference for designers. So this was the second one, and the third one was not connected to my actual work, but it was outside. It was the community contributions I had made to this product management community, where I'd written articles and taught, via them, taught master classes at a prominent B school. So the third one was purely focused on community contributions. The first one was largely work, and the second one was both. So
Yeah.
together, they kind of covered a very good base for me. I in fact started with a different list and then kept refining to when my evidences kept building up. I kept thinking, okay, which of these people knows the right info, has seen me at the right phase of my career to be able to vouch
Yeah.
for the right things.
Yeah. And that's really good, because a lot of people think I'm just going to get all my previous employers to write me letters.
No.
And it can, the guidelines can be confusing in that they think that that's what the technician guidelines need, but in actual fact, and this is from 10 years of me doing this, is when I see feedback from assessors, what they're wanting, um, your experts to talk about mainly is your national and international recognition in the field, and that you are a leader in the field, not about your day-to-day jobs. It's more about your impact and leadership in the sector. And your managers only know about your day-to-day jobs. So this is where a lot of people fail or not succeed in getting the endorsement because they have the wrong experts to vouch for them. And that's a big tip, because not many people know this. This is not clearly laid out in the guidelines, but that's what the assessors are looking for, unfortunately. Okay, so that's your experts, and we talked about obviously that you chose, we have to choose mandatory criteria. Leadership. So you had loads of leadership examples, your articles that you wrote, the courses that you taught at, um, working at Microsoft, but that had lots of global impact, because we really had a mixture of internal leadership and external leadership to showcase that you're a leader in the field. What about your optional criteria? Because we mentioned the three, but you chose two in the end.
Mm-hmm. What's the question?
Your option criteria two and option criteria
Yeah.
three. What kinds of evidence did you
What's the
submit
evidence?
for that?
Yes. So optional criteria three, I was the easiest. Basically, I think in this application, you tend to get into a cold start problem. So I also recommend doing the easiest thing first. So just to get the momentum of doing something. So OC3 was mainly talking about significant contribution to your field. Michelle, you can tell the right verbiage, that the right
Do you want me to
framing,
say
but
it?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I've memorized this. It's the applicant must show significant technical, commercial, or entrepreneurial contributions to the field as an employee of a product-led digital technology company.
Yeah, which is pretty much all the work we do, right?
Yeah.
Like we're working in a tech company and we're doing work that's meaningful. So you'll find stories from the work you do itself, typically in OC3. So yeah, I picked basically exactly what I was doing at that time. I had just finished a report on my impact at my own workplace, and I basically just converted that report into an evidence file. So that was simple, and that was one evidence. And the other one was, I think, a very strong recommendation letter from a very high senior person in the same company who had worked, who vouched for the commercial impact of the work I did. So those were two parts, two things in my OC3, and I'm forgetting the third, but I think it'll strike me at some point.
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember.
the third one was the
Yeah, yeah.
patent. Yeah, the
Oh, yes,
patent.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I had done some kind of cutting edge work at Microsoft. Um, yeah, I guess cutting edge is very cringe, but uh,
It was.
reasonably innovative work at Microsoft back for the days to be able to file enough to be able to file a patent. So and yeah, so I just made one evidence file around that. So what the work was, and which app it is currently shipped in. Because again, if you work at big tech, you don't have a name on anything, but you have to somehow connect what you did to something that's more publicly available. So yes, that was one of the second evidence. There was a third evidence in my OC3.
Yeah,
I think we had three. I don't think
yeah,
we had a fourth.
no, yeah.
OC2, I talked about all the work I did over the years, not just recently, but for the community. So like I said, I come from a design background as well. After my engineering undergrad, I went to design school. Love going back to school and teaching and coaching students. So one of them was about just that, like the work I've been doing in coaching and mentoring and evaluating student work, validated by somebody who had invited me. And another one was a set of talks I had given for women in tech and women in gaming to some universities, and just putting all of that together in one evidence, and yeah, a
Yeah.
reference letter to validate that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had such great evidence. Sometimes some of the stuff that you had, there was too much evidence. So we had to kind of manage all the evidence and try to build a good narrative to show your the work outside, because the proof of recognition criteria is proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector. So first of all, we had to prove that you did it outside of your work, and then second, how did it advance the tech sector? So we had great feedback from your presentations, from students, the metric scores that they provided for you. So impact is so important. When anyone provides any evidence in their application pack, focus on your impact because they know you can do the work. Everyone can do the work. Everyone can do anything. It's measuring impact that is the hardest thing, and that's what the assessors are looking for. They're looking for your impact, and I hope that from now on, Surabhi, when you do anything, now you can think about your impact after you're doing. Because once people do projects, they just go, "Okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm on to the next project." But this process requires you to go, "Hang on a minute. What was your impact?"
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. So a third evidence in my OC2 was actually talking about the master classes,
Mm,
and in that, I think, like you mentioned, Michelle, I had about 5, 6 surveys or polls to which students had
mm,
responded, and they had rated the session on 2, 3 criteria. So just kind of literally screenshotting that and
mm,
saying that, look, I did this, and so many students think that this session was good,
yeah.
and like a four something rating. So even like, I think being sometimes you have to just put the obvious things in there, because everyone can say they're amazing. Why should I believe you? So
Yeah.
if someone else has vouched for it, I think those things become really important. External
Mm,
validation becomes really
mm.
important for the application. Yeah.
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah, anyone can say anything. You can say anything, but having that evidence to back it up is great. And another impact that you made, not only did the students love what you did, they invited you back. And when they
Yeah.
invite you back, that's impact, right? So we included that as well. So these are the little things that you might miss, but to me, they're really important. It's consistency and repetitiveness and come inviting you back and feedback and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
They all
think,
matter.
sorry, I got you.
Yeah, as you said, they all matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of these things I did not see as very important because I was just enjoying doing what I was doing. I had a vague sense that at some point these dots will connect and it will mean something. Um, yeah, and because I came to the UK and I knew I wanted this visa, so I always knew that, okay, in some way at some point I might be able to leverage something from this universe of random things I'm doing as evidence. Like, I did not know which one I will use, but I
Yeah.
just kept doing things. I didn't think much of the repeat invite
Mm.
as anything big. I thought, yeah, that's obvious, um, yeah, there's no
Yeah.
reason to not. But then I
Yeah.
think this is the narrative point, right? Like, someone else can perceive it as, oh, you must be really good. That's why you're being invited back. So I think that's the part where the storytelling side comes in, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, I'm glad because there were a lot of moments in our conversations. I said, you can include that. And you're like, oh, really? And yes, of course, let's put it in. Let's keep telling the story. And then what? And then what
yeah,
happened? So yeah, I really like that. Okay, so that's your application. I hope, and Surabhi, thank you so much. You've given us so much insights into your application, and I hope everyone, appreciates that as well, because not everyone does. So I hope you got some good tips off Sue. Tell me, let's look at timelines because timelines, I mean, if you applied in 2022 or 2023, the timelines were a lot shorter in terms of
yeah.
decision times. They've changed the process now, so the decision timeline is actually a lot longer than what they used to be. So let's have a look at your timelines when you submitted in March.
Yeah. So I submitted on 6th of March, and about 2 weeks later, I got an email from the Home Office saying we have forwarded your application to technician. So that was around 22nd of March. And by then I was very suspicious because I hadn't heard back from from them. And yeah, I mean, like, once you do all this effort, you're really waiting. And then all I got after 2 weeks was a forwarding email. I did not know that's the process, or at least, other people in the past, after they submit, sometimes in 2, 3 weeks, they have gotten the endorsement itself. So after 2 weeks, I get the forwarding email. And exactly a month after the forwarding email, which is another 4 weeks, I got the email that said you've been endorsed for this visa. So that's stage one complete. So stage one complete took 6 weeks from the day I submitted. And then stage two is completely in your control. So um, by now, I was quite sure that I wanted the visa. There was no two ways about it. If I got the stage one, I had to do stage two. Some people
Yeah.
don't do it, by the way. They
Oh my
just take
goodness.
that.
I would have done it for you if I could. All this hard work, you have to do it.
Yeah, so basically, once I got the stage one, the stage two was blazing fast because it was in my control and I could just, yeah, expedite everything. You can pay some money and expedite to whatever, whether you want it in a day or a week. So the rest of the stuff was fast, but 6 weeks it took for me to get the endorsement.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, they say that they can take up to 8 weeks from the
Mm.
time they send it to technician. So that doesn't count the 2 weeks that it's sitting in the home office waiting to be sent to technicians. So you just have to figure out your timings and make sure you leave yourself enough time, especially if your visa, whatever visa you're on, is expiring. You need to figure out the a maximum amount of time a technician can take and work backwards. So yeah, you're right, Surabhi. Even though you got your decision in 4 weeks, in totality, you say 6 weeks. They could have taken 10 weeks,
Yeah.
it's eight plus the two. So tell me, so you apply, when did you apply for your global talent visa, stage two?
Stage two, I think almost immediately. I think I probably celebrated for exactly only one day. And
Okay.
that too, I regretted celebrating because I was thinking, I went for this dinner, but I could have used that time to apply for my stage two. Why did I wait for one day? So, yeah, but 22nd April, I got the endorsement. I think 23rd, I submitted my application for stage two. I put the most expedited option. And 24th, I had my biometric. And in 3 hours from the biometric, I got an email saying you are now on global talent visa, and the home office website, like the share code changed from skilled worker to global talent. So it was quite surreal. After the stage one, everything was very fast and quite surreal. And UK government is amazing in the sense that if you take the prioritized, if you basically take the priority service, which is if you pay extra and get it, it's super efficient. It's only the third route, which is you don't pay to expedite. I think that can be uncertain, and I don't know how much time it would have taken. But there are options to expedite it to 1 week or yeah, even a day. Like in my
Yeah,
case,
that's amazing. Can we talk about the ILR process?
I did the same thing. Just repeat of stage, basically the same thing. Um, yeah, 1st of May. I think 1st of May I applied for my ILR. It was this long bank holiday weekend, so I couldn't get the next day slot. But also, I think yeah, you have to go for a biometric appointment, which is very very smooth and efficient in London at least. So yeah, I think one has to be flexible about where the biometric appointment is. But luckily for me, there was one available very close to where I live, so it
Good.
was very smooth. Yeah, first I applied, second, third, fourth, I think were holidays. Then I think fifth I went for my biometric, and in 3 hours again I got an email saying 3 hours maybe lesser got the ILR. Yeah, really quickly basically. And I think one thing that's important here is I came to the UK in July 2022. So in July last year, I had finished 3 years. So on the exceptional talent route, I was already eligible for ILR, and that's why I just went ahead and finished the process.
Yeah.
But if you're not finished with 3 years, then you have to wait till you finish 3 years. But that said, even in the scale of things, like even 4 years is really nice and fast. And for me, I just couldn't wait to get that freedom that I was talking about earlier. And for me, it was, yeah,
Yeah.
I
You
did.
wanted it yesterday. You wanted
I
it.
want,
Let's go. Yeah. That's amazing. So from the 20, so just to put it into perspective for everyone. So from the 6th of March to the 5th of May, that's like 2 months.
mm,
You got endorsed, you got your global talent visa and your ILR in 2 months.
yeah.
That's amazing. Can everyone give her a clapping emoji, please? Come on, I want to see it up on the screen. That is amazing. Like, seriously. And after all these years from 2022 and you preparing this and even working with me, I know I challenged you a lot. It just seemed like it was never ending. But it all look at all the emojis. I love it. Thank you so much. It's a huge celebration. It really is. Of all your hard work.
Yeah, it was a huge relief initially. And I think it changes you in ways that, you can't predict. Like, the thing with there's no cost you can assign to freedom,
No.
right? I feel like it changes your biology or something. Like I've just been the way I used to think before I got the ILR is very different. Um, the other day I read a book and I went to a cafe. I read a book for a whole day. And I told a friend, and this friend was like, "Wow, you're a different person." And just basically the I was doing things that I like doing with my time without any fear of, you know,
Yeah.
any consequence. Right? I'm not bound at all in any way now. Um, yeah, I guess other people may not have stopped reading books, but that's just my reaction too.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot, and you feel
Yeah.
like you can't because you're so focused, and you've got this visa thing hanging over your shoulder, and you feel like you can't enjoy life until you just sort this out. And that's common, and then
you're
yeah,
you're at the minimum fighting three battles, right? You're trying to do a great job at your job because you need a job to stay in the country. You are also in this climate also always passively open to new jobs because something might happen, right? uh, and like just recently Meta had like 8,000 people and I have so many friends in Meta, so I know for 3 months all they were talking about was just one thing, so
yeah.
yeah, so you're always thinking about, okay, what if? Third, you're always like trying to secure, like in my case, doing this visa. So there were at least three things always going on in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no time to read, no time to read a book, no time to enjoy it, but obviously you have to make a bit of time to otherwise, your mental health and all that kind of stuff. But I'm so glad that now that you've got it, you are able to just relax a little bit and think about your next steps. So now that you've gone through this process, for a long, long time, and I remember you said, "Oh my gosh, I finished. I don't know what to do with myself." What's your advice to the audience and people watching this? What's your advice in this whole process?
You're talking about just the global talent visa process, right? Not life, not.
Yeah, the global talent visa. Yeah, you can throw in some life advice as well if you want.
Yeah, I think one thing I would say a couple of things. I think three things that come to mind is A, start early. So even though I always thought I had 3 years, I think there's a lot of everybody is different and their profile is different. Some people need a whole year to build a profile, for example. If you start at the 3 year mark, you don't, or at the 4 year mark, you by the time like I actually have a friend who started working very late, and by the time he'll get his decision, it'll almost be 5 years complete. So then they might just get the ILR, for example. So there was not much value of the work done because there had to be time spent building the profile, for example. So
Mm,
start as early, like get opinions from maybe like early introductory calls with consultants early enough to evaluate your profile. You don't know how much time you need to prepare the application, so that's one. I think the second piece of advice is that we are always greedy about like we want to put a lot of things in. Everything you've done you want to cram it in because,
yeah.
well, it's stuff you've done and you're very emotional about it. I had, I think, like the way I would put it is like four evidences that are 75% strong versus two that are 100% there. The latter is better. So it's better to have two things that independently stand. Like every document that they pick should independently stand and succeed in proving the point you're trying to prove, versus putting four things that kind of together make up the story. I actually have like a debris of documents I never submitted because I just we when we looked at that, we just didn't feel it was there yet. Like one of my employers I've not mentioned in my application at all. I was very underconfident about that, about completely removing like an employer, right? But the evidence just didn't seem to meet any criteria that we wanted, and therefore it would be like a 75% evidence. And yeah, better remove that versus put something that can be questioned, because if something can be questioned, you're running a risk.
Yeah.
So that's the second piece of advice. I think the third one is just to have a mental framework or a reframe of always look at who can vouch for something, right? Is it a person? Is it a publication? Which things in your set of achievements have some kind of public or external defensibility? Because I think sometimes the feedback candidates get is around how yeah, something is just internal or the impact is just internal and there's no validation of it, even if it's really good work. But if it's not defensible, I think it is a weaker evidence for
Yeah.
this visa versus others. So yeah, always keeping an eye out on what is externally defensible.
Yeah, that's good advice because I speak to a lot of clients and people about their projects, and they're so emotionally invested in their projects, which I understand because I've been working on it for so long. But I'm looking for any third party verification defense because that's what the assessors are looking for. And sometimes the most challenging projects don't make the cut because there's no evidence to show or verifiable evidence. So it's a great story, but unfortunately we can't use it, and we have to take away the emotion and and move on to just hardcore evidence because you've only got 15 pieces of evidence that you can submit. Um, in terms of your exciting plans now, Sue, you mentioned that you read a book for the whole day, which is amazing. So, other than reading, what do you think you're going to be doing next?
So I'm already traveling. I think basically the first thing was to just put a pause, take a well-earned sabbatical or a career break that I really wanted, but I couldn't take it. I mean, I wanted this last year for myself, but I didn't have the option. So I'm just gonna travel for some time. I want to do a few things in AI, just upskill myself, become more AI native. I've done a lot of work in AI already, and also I'm reasonably AI native as a product thinker, but I think there's more. I have this feeling that there's a lot more out there and I want to kind of fully get into it. I also have been writing something that I want to complete. So I had ambitions of writing a book, but I could never complete it. So hoping to move further on that. There are a few other things on my mind, like angel investment opportunities, board, and Ned advice. Ned is non-executive director, so just exploring more beyond just what an employment offers. Speaking to founders, understanding where the market's headed, both in India and in the UK. So just exploring first before taking and moving into my next role with alignment instead of based on constraints. So I think, yeah, I'm first taking a pause and then looking for where will I find the best alignment. Have a few conversations on the radar, but I'm not keen to jump to anything just yet.
Good. I'm really pleased to hear that because it sounds
Mm.
like since you arrived in London, it's just been, rat race, just staying on that
Yeah.
treadmill, and only because your visa, made you obviously or forced you to work with them and then just keep working without thinking about why you were working. But it's interesting what you said about, upskilling yourself in AI and all the rest of it. But now I'd like to ask you a question about maybe what do you think about the job market in the AI world? I mean, I know you've dabbled a little bit in the job market, but obviously no pressure. I don't want to pressure you, just take a break. But when you are ready, this is a trending topic at the moment. What is the
Yeah.
job market like in the AI world? And is that something that you're going to explore while you're taking a bit of a break?
Yeah. So I think there are a couple of sub trends that we have seen in the AI world. Um, Wherever agents can replace the redundant and repetitive parts of what humans used to do, companies are increasingly deploying agents for those jobs. So as a result of that, there are a lot of headcount reductions, headcount freezes. Companies are not backfilling roles. So that's definitely there. I think it's not a question of whether it's happening or not. It's definitely happening. Although then I don't think all is bad. Cost cutting has always been a part of how a company, functions. A lot of quarterly earning reports, if you now see them, I actually reviewed quarterly earnings reports of companies that I was initially speaking to, interviewing with a couple of months back, and they some of them have a line about how celebrating their operational opex cuts as a good thing because that's what the board wants to see. So it's just business at the end of the day. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's happening. It's business, and it will continue to happen. Wherever a company can get savings, they will get savings.
Mm.
However, we've also seen stories of AI going rogue, like servers being down and bad code getting shipped. So I think increasingly there is a migration of human talent from drafting to correcting or auditing what AI does. So there are actually companies that have laid off people, but then created a new team, which is basically a scaffolding team. So their job is to, well, AI will draft the code, but the humans will scaffold and sort of edit and train AI to write better code. So that's an example. So the world has changed. LLMs have transformed what is possible. Um, and workforce is getting realigned to it. Some companies are doing it faster, some are doing it slower. But I think there's this line that I read somewhere, which I think all of us have come across: AI won't take your jobs, but someone who knows how to use AI well might. So that's the other thing I guess that's the other tip, right? Like, be AI native. Like, think of, just for the sake of being more current and, relevant, think of how, beyond just talking to ChatGPT and getting therapy or getting, directions or something, right? What kind of jobs or functional things you can offload to AI, even in the way you live, not just the way you work. So I keep kind of trying to question, and in the end, if we are all some or the other kind of makers, and we are making for humans, right? So the best way to see what AI can do is to actually use it, test it. The thing with LLMs is no one knows what it can do. I mean, it's everybody is just throwing darts to figure out and see what sticks, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it fails. When it fails, you try and figure out what harness or what human in the loop or what corrective measures might work. There are also these new buzzwords like harness engineering, context engineering. You put engineering in front of every word and it becomes cool. So these things keep evolving, but basically, I feel the only way to get on top of what AI can do is to just use it extensively for everything and try and see what it's try and break it, try and see what the capabilities are. And in terms of roles and the market, it seems as though, um, yeah, moving more towards leveraging AI and becoming 3 to 10x of who you were in your, like, how do I the question I ask myself is, how do I become a 10x builder, right? I was maybe, yeah, I was a PM back in the day, but how do I become 10x of that? And if I try 10x, maybe I'll get 3x. But yeah, that's where my head is at, and I feel like I'm rambling because I've
No, it's really interesting, and I think that's a conversation that we have to keep having because we're in a very, as you say, intense job market at the moment, and these questions are what you're talking about and you're answering, but also CEOs and CTOs, they're talking about it as well. And I think keep having these conversations because everyone is in the same place, like you say, do it and see what sticks. And it's uncertain. And people don't like saying I don't know, but it's okay to say I don't know. And that's where those conversations can keep happening. Is okay. What if we
yeah.
do this? And you're a builder. You build it so it breaks, and then you can fix it. That's the nature of being a product builder.
Yeah, I think one more change I've seen is also, like, you might have been a designer, you might have been a PM or like an engineer. I think everyone's moving towards becoming like a full stack builder to some extent. At least the non-engineering trades are all being encouraged now, because the gap between thinking and building at least a prototype has completely gone away, right?
Yeah.
You don't need much to visualize your ideas, get it into a semi-working product. Production code, not so much. You still need engineering for it. But I think that's the other shift, that I feel like the role divisions might be blurring because of AI supplementing the what you did not have as skill set. So perhaps we're going to be seeing at a lot more full stack builders in the future than segregated roles.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I think I mean, just in talking to you, and I know we'll wrap this up because this is going way off topic, but we're in a really good position where we can talk to our seniors and say, you might not have a particular role for me, but I can do something. And it's an exploratory role, but it might not have a title just yet.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the conversation. It's, see what happens.
that's
I
true.
feel like I feel like you can create a role for yourself, Sue. You can. I think you can. And that's interesting. You can. You can talk anyone into doing that.
I am currently just more interested in, how, like, now if you have like a coffee with a friend, it's a deeply human
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to have more deeply human experiences
Good,
that are disconnected from devices and screens, and
good.
just like
Yes.
experience more of humanity, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go away from tech for a while, not like in terms of what I do, but in terms of, short term, because
Yeah.
in the end, AI or any technology is just solving problems
Human
of
problems.
humans and
Humans.
making us healthier, whether in terms of time or money. So I think going back to the basics, observing life in all its forms, I think that's also why I want to travel to different continents,
Ah,
because just observing what matters to people, in
yeah.
different places, what is the way of life. I think one thing I want to underscore also is like it's becoming more and more important, the value of a personal brand, as well as the value of trust between people, because again, AI is an equalizer, right? Like just internet was an equalizer for many people who had no access to education, now suddenly could make lots of money because internet, and then mobile phones and so on and so forth. So AI, like now LLMs the next wave. So basically I feel that in terms of hard skills and talent, everybody has access. So what is your differentiator? I think now more than ever, having very strong relationship with the people you work with, and yeah, building trust as currency with humans, because in the end, the people you work with, that's always been the case, but now it feels like it's more so the case, where building trust, signaling trust, having a brand, having some kind of an authority in the domain that you're in, it's feeling like it's becoming more and more important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that a lot of people, talk to ChatGPT and Claude and all that before speaking to me. But I love my relationships with my clients because they inspire me to help them. And I hear so many stories of why they're applying for the Global Talent Visa. Some really, common stories, but then there's some really interesting stories that really break my heart that I really want to help them. So, it's the human connection that this is why I'm doing what I do. So, yes. Um, so I'll leave it at that. It's really interesting. And I'm sorry we've gone off course and I don't have much time to continue on my webinar, but I will stick around and obviously talk about the Global Talent Visa in general. But does anyone have any questions? I know someone's just quickly asked us how many documents do we need to submit against the mandatory criteria? I think with all the criteria, you need at least 3 documents against each criteria. Okay, and then put the fourth document against the strongest one because you need to produce 10 pieces of evidence or 10 documents. So you would go 4, 3, and 3, depending on which ones you choose. So hopefully that will help. But other than that, does anyone have any other questions for Sue before she goes? She's been so amazing. You really have. It's been such a great conversation. I mean, this is the most, I mean, we have spoken a lot after your endorsement and visa, but it's always great to talk to you because we always go into all these things and we talk about so many different things. But yeah, it's been lovely to have you. So nice. And I'm sure we will keep in touch and let me know where you travel. I just want to know. I want to be jealous.
Yeah.
Give me some inspiration. Does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, we'll say goodbye. Everyone's saying goodbye. Lovely,
Thank
lovely
you.
to meet you. Yeah. All
All
right. Well,
right.
if they don't have any questions, thank you so much, Sue. I'll let you go. And thank you so much for giving up your time and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you sticking on, and I know that I do have to continue with my webinar. We don't have much time, but I'm gonna just go to my um, share screen. Okay, this is where it gets difficult because I may have some technical issues now, and I will try and let me see. Hold on. Here we go. Yes, perfect. You can see this, right? Now, would you like me to continue on with my webinar? Um, so that you can kind of see if you just want to put in the chat, because I don't have to go through the whole thing because it has been okay. Someone said yes, so I will. And if you want to drop off, feel free to, because I know this has been a really long session and I'll try and get through it as quickly as I can, but still give you a lot of detail that you need. So I'm going to answer your questions at the end. Okay, so, oh, here we go. Sorry. So quickly, if I haven't met you, I know I've see some familiar names on the webinar at the moment. So my name is Michelle. I am Vietnamese by background. I am an Australian citizen. I'm also a British citizen because of my global talent um, visa, and now I'm an Irish citizen as well. So in 2016, I received the exceptional talent endorsement and got my visa. And then I became the Tech Nation Visa Ambassador because back then, back in 2016, it was such a new visa at the time. It started in 2014 and not many people knew about it. So Tech Nation put out a call to ask for people who did receive the visa to become ambassadors to share their story on how they received it. So I did that for 2 years while working on my startup. And then in 2019, I then applied for my ILR, and then I became a British citizen as a result. I spent 7 years in the UK, making Manchester and Newcastle my home, but I also travelled to London a lot for my startup. I used to be a solicitor in Australia. I was a property solicitor, property law solicitor, and then moved to England and became a tech entrepreneur. Um, I wrote about my journey actually because no one knew about it. I didn't have anyone to talk to. We're lucky now because so many people are getting the visa, and also now I'm interviewing my clients because I know that back then I had no one to speak to. I kind of spoke to a lawyer who was provided by Tech Nation, but because no one had already had gone through it, we were kind of just looking at the guidelines and trying to fumble through it. And thankfully I got it and then wrote a blog about it because I saw the problems that I had. So I wrote a blog. That blog went viral. I got so many people contacting me, and then it transpired to me quitting my startup and doing this full time, which I really love. I've coached over 2,000 tech entrepreneurs, senior execs, and tech employees over the last 10 years. My average success rate is 90%. Back when the process was a bit different, some of my clients received their result within 3 to 27 hours, and it was huge. It was amazing when they have up to 8 weeks to provide a decision. The Tech Nation endorsement rate or success rate, it was 54%, but now it's 40%. And from that 40%, 65% endorsed with talent, while 35% are endorsed with promise. So that's just the stats that are coming out. During COVID, I had a 100% success rate from people from Nigeria. And in summer of last year, I had a 100% success rate as well. So it does vary. Obviously, now it's a bit more difficult, but my success rate is still quite strong. I've helped loads of people from different companies, from Meta, Google, Zoom, Shopify, Spotify, those big tech companies to startup founders, investors, CTOs, CEOs, MBA and PhD graduates from, top universities from Oxford, Cambridge, UCLA, LBS. I do help UX designers, game designers. You see, the list is endless, but no two applications are the same. You can ask your friends to view their applications and hopefully, and be inspired by it. But 9.9 times out of 10, it's good to look at, but in terms of trying to copy, you shouldn't copy theirs because you have a different story, you have different evidence. The assessors are looking for, different things based on, your story. So it doesn't help that much to look at someone else's application. So try not to rely on it. Try and do your own. I only help with stage one endorsements. I'm not an immigration solicitor. And if you need any immigration advice, I can refer you, or you can find someone in the UK to help you. So when I applied for my visa and also when I was a tech entrepreneur, I was very, very active in the tech community. And this is what Tech Nation are looking for. They want you to have leadership examples and activities, have done them and evidence of it. As Sue mentioned, she had so much going on and she did so much for the community. And that's what they want. They don't want you just to focus on your job, go to work, do your job, get paid to do it, go home. That's a skilled worker visa. That's just, getting a visa for doing your job. But this is about more than that. It's your contributions, showing your leadership in the sector. So I was interviewed, I was quoted, I was on panels, I hosted roundtables, I was featured in Sunday Times, I was an IoT hackathon judge. I was in TechCrunch, I was on Business, and I got lots of awards and things like that. Those are the things that Tech Nation are looking for because they need to separate you from, people who just come to the UK and want to work in the UK. You need to have an exceptional talent status. You need to show external thought leadership in the field. I was known as an expert in wearable tech because I was building a wearable tech product, but I made a very clear distinction in what I was doing in my job, which is my startup, versus me being an expert in the industry. So I was sitting on panels speaking about the wearable tech industry. Yes, I was a founder of my startup, but I didn't talk about my startup. I talked about, what everyone else was doing, the trends, what I'm finding, so it's a bit different. You need to separate the two. And my blog's on my website, so you can read it. It hasn't changed. It's yeah, I do read it every now and then, and again, it does feel like yesterday when I received it. I knew exactly where I was when I received my endorsement. Big relief. I knew who I was with and really celebrated the endorsement because it just meant freedom. And like Sue said, freedom is so important, and there's no price for freedom. I only had 3 months left of my entrepreneur's visa at the time, and I nearly got sent back to Australia because that was expiring. And luckily, I spent 3 months of no sleep to do the global talent visa, and luckily, I got it like within a month before my actual visa expired. So got switched straight away and then got my visa. Over the years, I've helped so many people online, but then I decided to host an alumni event for my own clients in London, and I did that and met some of my clients, and they got to meet each other as well, which is great because I'm I'm the one that helps them all, but individually. But having them meet each other and share their stories, and just one of them said, "We're trauma bonded," because it is. Sometimes it can be quite traumatic doing this because it takes up so much time and the stakes are so high that you feel a bit traumatized. But once you get it, you see other people that have got it and you understand those who go through the same process. There's an immediate bond, and it was really nice to meet everyone and also to let everyone meet each other as well. So the Global Talent Visa, it's a special visa that was introduced to allow highly skilled tech entrepreneurs and talent the ability to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. Two-stage process. Stage one is endorsement. Stage two is visa. You have to meet the endorsement criteria in order to get the visa. And it's more than a job application, as I said. Benefits, freedom, huge benefit, freedom and flexibility. You can live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. You can apply for indefinite leave to remain and citizenship. You can switch from skilled worker to global talent time in the UK counts for that. You can bring your dependents. You can register a UK limited company. You can work for a tech company without the need for company sponsorship, and it's attached to you. The stage one endorsement fee is, 561 or something. So it's quite low. It's only when you do get the visa, do get the endorsement and apply for your visa, that's when obviously the costs increase. But it might be okay because you're going to get the visa, hopefully. That's what you're applying for. Um, Lots of different people from different countries. It's 90 plus countries that people are applying for the global talent visa. Europe, Africa, India, North America, China, and Australia. There's a 40% endorsement rate. There's been, 5,000 plus successful recipients. When I applied, and only up until maybe 4 years ago, there was a cap in endorsements. So they only had I think it was 200 when I applied. So only 200 people maximum could get through every year. But now there's no caps. So if you meet the criteria and the assessors deem that you do, then you would be endorsed. 75-25 male-female ratio, but only because tech is dominated by, males. But I help a lot of women in tech. And then once you get the visa, you can either join my alumni if I helped you, or you can join the one in London, which there is one in London, and you can attend events that they host as well for the Global Talent Visa. Different countries here, there's endorsement rates. This is 2020. I haven't got more recent stats, but pretty much very similar. There's a higher endorsement rate from these countries than these. I do help a lot more people from these countries, but they're just stats. Don't let that put you off. And then people, obviously, with a tech background, they're more likely to be endorsed, but right below that, biz dev, commercial or technical, you can be. And these are just some of the sectors. Okay. So there have been a number of applications submitted. So 4,002 this last financial year. And you can see it's gone up over the years. I'm down here. I was one of the top 50 that received it, and then it's gone up over the years. So you can see it's still a very highly sought after visa. So you need 15 documents all in. Everyone needs to provide 5 documents, which is your CV, personal statement, and 3 letters of recommendations by experts. Then you need to provide 10 documents, which make up the mandatory or optional criteria. And we quickly talked about this in Sue's interview. You can apply for under one of two categories, the talent or the promise. Talent is if you have more than 5 years experience or you're later in your career and you have, leadership examples and skills. And these are senior leaders, managers, CTOs, and CEOs. If you have more than 5 years experience and you are a senior leader, you should really apply for talent. Some of them ask me, should I go for promise? No, because the assessors can see that you're a senior, you're just trying to go for the lesser category, but they will probably assess you under the talent. So go for the one that matches your years of experience and your title. Exceptional promise candidates. If you've got less than 5 years experience, you're early in your career, you can prove your potential to be a leader through your skills and achievements. You can be a student, graduate, or junior, so that you would apply for promise. Okay. The difference is if you apply for talent and get talent like Sue did, it's within 3 years you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. But if you apply for promise, it's within 5 years you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. So the difference is in two. Eligibility, you can have a technical or business skill in order to be eligible. So these are the different skills that you can have. Those who have technical skills, they don't have to work for technical organizations and they're still eligible. But those with business skills, you have to work for a technical organization to be eligible. Those who aren't eligible are those who work for consultancies. So I do get a lot of people who work for, the likes of Capgemini, Wipro, those consultant type companies. Unfortunately, they don't want consultants to apply, so you're not eligible. But if you work for product-led companies, you are eligible, technical organizations. You can be an employee or founder as well. A majority are employees and 25% are founders. So product-led digital technology company, that's what they're looking for rather than consultancies. So if you work for a company that develops its own products, so they're defined as businesses that provide a proprietary, so developing their own products, a service, product, platform, or hardware as their primary revenue source. Because some companies have consultancies as part of their, revenue generating services. But if that company is mainly primarily a product-led company with a bit of consultancy, then that would be deemed as a product-led. But if it's a consultancy that does a bit of product, then that would be deemed as a consultant. Okay. The criteria, you apply for talent or promise. You have to select leadership, which is, showing your leadership activities, like what Sue was discussing, her conference speaking, teaching up courses, being a judge and things like that. So they're leadership type examples, and you need at least 3 examples. Okay. Then you've got your optional criteria: innovation, volunteer work, proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector, your commercial, technical, entrepreneurial impact as an employee, and then your academic contributions. You only need to choose 2 out of 4, and you need to at least 3 examples. So if you go 3, 3, and 3, that's 9, and then just put the 10th document against one of the 3 that you've selected. Okay. Process. There's two stages. Okay. Stage 1 is endorsement. Stage 2 is visa. Within stage 1, there's 2 steps. You pay online at the Home Office, step 1. Once you pay, you get a number, and then you email your documents to the Home Office. They manually check it, and then they may take up to 2 weeks to then forward it onto TechNation. Okay. And then TechNation will make the decision, send it back to the Home Office, and Home Office will email you to tell you whether or not you are endorsed or not. They can take up to 8 weeks. The average is 4 to 6 weeks that I've seen. It used to be around 3 to 4. They will tell you if you're successful or unsuccessful. If you are unsuccessful, you can appeal the decision. There is no fee, but you have 28 calendar days to respond to the decision, and then a new assessor will review it. And if they agree with the first assessor, then unfortunately it's a no. If they disagree with the first assessor and they say that you're endorsed, you go to stage 2. And similarly, if you are successful, you go straight to stage 2. Then this is a Home Office visa application stage. I don't help with this. An immigration lawyer can help you, or you can do it yourself. So this is where you do your biometrics, you pay your immigration health surcharge, and then you wait some time. I mean, they do say 3 to 8 weeks, but it's a lot sooner. And then, obviously, in Sue's case, if you pay, you get it very quickly. So this stage is within your control. This stage is not within your control. So you can get this pretty quickly. So I help people with loads of questions, is whether or not they're eligible, how do they present their documents, what's relevant information. Like I said, when we talked about to Sue about it, loads of information, bringing it down, what comes out at the end of the day. I've got so much information. What documents do we pick that's relevant to the tech sector? Who can be my experts? How do you show your innovations and impact? How do you show that you're an exceptional leader as well? Is it enough evidence? What's enough? What more can I do? What more can you provide? And how much experience do you need? And if I do help with appeals as well, if people are unsuccessful, how do they then, what do they do? Do they appeal, or do they resubmit? I help a lot of people with that decision, and sometimes it's just easier to just regroup, resubmit evidence, and have a new whole fresh application. And my clients do very well when they've gone it themselves the first time, and then I will assess it, and those who then come on again because I've seen what they can do and how I can improve it, they generally do get it the second time. Most of the time, not all the time, but it's a chance you have to take, and I help with providing a stronger application. I can't guarantee a success, but I can guarantee a strong application. So have a look at my website. I've got loads of resources on there, including my eligibility questionnaire. I don't use AI with that because, I look at everything. I know exactly what makes a good candidate and what technician's looking for. And I like seeing what your background is. And I don't want a situation where a computer says no when, humans are they're not one dimensional. It's so many different facets to your life. And how can maybe if you can train the AI agent to do it, yes, but at the moment I'm really interested in you. I want to have that human connection, and I want to speak to you, and I want to see what you're about and have that conversation with you. So fill in my eligibility questionnaire, and I'll have a look and see if you're eligible. My top 5 tips. This is your chance to tell your unique story. I listen to lots of stories, and then I can pick which ones are relevant information to include and which ones are not. Your tech network is about your net worth. So it's really important. You need the right support. You need to work with them, and you need to have them to support you in this process, because Tech Nation want letters specifically for the Global Talent Visa, and really work with your experts to help you with this application, because some of them are already in the UK and they need to explain why you should be in the UK and what value you add in the UK based off your previous experience working with them, or either in your job or outside of your job. How do you add that value into the UK tech sector? It's about self-promotion. You need to sell yourself to the assessors, and really convince them that they kind of know, like, and trust you through the evidence that you're presenting. Being eligible is one thing, meeting the criteria is a whole other thing. It's about building your evidence, a structured evidence, making things relevant, and speaking Tech Nation's language. Also, contact me sooner rather than later. If you speak to me now, sometimes I don't speak to clients for another few years, but they've got my guidance from the very beginning, and then they can work towards it without wasting time. Or, I spoke to someone yesterday, and I spoke to them in 2024, and they're finally onboarding as a new client. Well, they were a client, but obviously now they're actually starting their process. But it's a process, it's a journey, and I'm here. I've been here for 10 years. Hopefully I won't go anywhere, but yeah, speak to me as early as you can so you can get the right guidance. Assessors also don't click on links. So if you are to include any links in your application, make sure it comes with a screenshot of what that information is, and the link is just to source it. Okay, they don't click on links otherwise. I've got various different packages of support. I start with free discovery calls after you've completed my eligibility, and then it goes from there. I have an online leadership and tech course because a lot of people aren't ready just yet, and I can help them get ready. I've got a DIY membership area. I've got a strategy session, which is really important. That's what will kickstart your application. And then from there, you can upgrade to my review or premium coaching package. But if you've already paid for my strategy session, I do take that amount off my other packages when you do upgrade. But that's the all-in cost. But and then I help with appeals. But talk to me about any packages that you'd like to take from me, or for me to explain it to you, because there's a lot to it, and I want to explain it and see where you're coming from so that I can help you in the best way. I'm not going to sell you anything. I want to understand where you're coming from and then what kind of support you need, and then we'll have that conversation. I've got loads of different resources on YouTube as well, on my website, and email me if you have any other questions. But I know this webinar has gone so long, and I hope it's okay, and you've learned so much, especially from Sue and from my quick little presentation. I do have a longer webinar, educational webinar coming up, but I'll let you know when that is. It might be in another few weeks' time. But I hope that's enough. Sue gave us so much information, so that's why I don't want to go into too much detail, and I just want to give you a quick rundown. I have one question, but feel free to ask any questions, any feedback. I'm happy to. I know some people dropped off because this has gone a little bit longer, but I hope you've got a lot out of this today. Someone's asked a question about them being a judge at different tech competitions and a conference reviewer, and at a tech conference in the US or and Europe. That's a lot, and that's amazing. So I would use them and make them all separate pieces of evidence. You can decide whether to put them under mandatory criteria or under OC2, which is proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector. I feel like, yep, yep. So it's up to you, depending on all your pieces of evidence. So if I always start with mandatory criteria, because that's, the leadership criteria, because that's mandatory. Once you have 3 or 4 mandatory criteria leadership examples, if you have any extra, I'd then move it over to OC2, because you're going to stack your leadership because that's mandatory. And then if you've got any evidence left over, then you can pick OC2 and put the rest of the evidence in there. OC2 is about proof of recognition of work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector. The leadership criteria is about your national or international recognition in the sector. So they're very different, but similar as well. So I like maybe same, different, but they're very similar, and you can use it, but just make sure you fulfill the criteria. How does it advance the tech sector if you're going for OC2? How did you show leadership if you're going for MC? So just bear that in mind. But yeah, you can include all of them. Okay. Fees. Okay. Yes, so my fees. Yes, you can pay in installments for my fees, but the only installment available is the review or the bespoke coaching fee. But the other fees, which is my leadership in tech course and my DIY membership area and the strategy session, they're all upfront payments. If you do want to have a strategy session with me, I do have a discount code for you. So email me and we'll have a chat and ask me for it, and I will give you a discount code so you can get a little bit off my strategy session. And I can accommodate you in that regard. And then when you do, if after we have the strategy session, and you want to upgrade to my review or bespoke coaching package, that's when the installment options will kick in as well. So again, I'm very flexible. Have that conversation with me. You're not dealing with an AI agent, you're dealing with a computer, you're dealing with a real person. And of course, I am human. I understand people's budgets and constraints and everything. So please do talk to me, and I will try and accommodate the best I can. Okay. So I hope that's it. I am very conscious of time. So if you don't have any other questions, please feel free to, leave now if you'd like to, say goodbye, or give me some feedback by email, or just, um, contact me any other way. But I hope this has helped, and thank you so much for coming. If you want to have any feedback on the chat before I say goodbye, that would be great. Quick question. Someone's asked about the chances of working in the government sector. I've helped a lot of people in the government before. It really depends on what area, because the guidelines provide that they're looking for people working in product-led digital technology companies. So government tends to not be, does not fall under that definition. But what do you do in in that department, could it have the definition of product led? Is it for other governments to use, or is it just for that particular department to use the product? So yeah. Yes, it's technical, which is fine, but it's really about what do they actually do? What does the government department actually do, and what do you do within that government department to talk about products? So we can have a separate conversation. This is all about products, and it's all about product-led digital technology companies. If it transpires that the government it's not considered product-led, then I would choose another example of a product-led company. Okay, so you're not restricted to using the government. I probably wouldn't, depending on what it does. Okay, all right. I'm going to say goodbye because I can talk about this for ages, and I know everyone's conscious of time and I'm a bit over. But thank you so much for your time, and I will send out a newsletter in the next day or so to send you this recording. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.